What's going on, y'all? It's your girl, Shawna Speaks, and this is the Male and Female Perspective Podcast. And I'm here with my dope co-host, Jus Comply is in the building.
Shauna.
What's up, Jus Comply?
I
Feel like I
can't
just saw
call it. I
you.
might spoil it. I know, right? Didn't I
Just
just
saw
see
you.
you?
Did I just see you? How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Good.
very good.
Good.
I
Happy
cannot
Tuesday.
complain. Right,
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Yeah.
Yo, we got a dope show for you today. As always, you know how we do. Let's go.
Let's get it.
Let's get it. What's
What's
going
going
on?
on? What's
Go ahead.
going on? What's going on? This is Just Comply, the male and female perspective. My lovely host over here, Shauna Speaks. Hey,
What's up,
hey,
Comply? What's up,
Brooklyn in the
Comply?
house. Brooklyn
Brooklyn,
in
the
the house.
BX is in the house.
Bronx in the building.
What's going
Um,
on?
I had this one. I had to give some thought to. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this was something that I told you. When we first initially talked about it, I was like, this is a subject that's kind of different, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of different, but it's definitely worth talking about, right? But before we get into it,
Hold on. Let
I
me
would
put on my
definitely
stupid,
like for everyone
glasses
to
so I can see you
to
better.
subscribe, to share. Yeah, put on the specs. Put on the specs now. We want you to be able to see.
That's right.
To please subscribe, please like, please share, please comment. The male and female perspective on YouTube. We're on um, we're on TikTok. We're
TikTok,
on
YouTube,
Spotify, and we're
Apple,
on Apple. Yeah, yeah. We're wherever
all
you can.
social podcast platforms. We are
That's exactly where I
listed.
was going.
That's
Yes.
right.
So wherever you want to find us, you can find us. The male and female perspective.
That's right.
Um, Today, our topic is going to be the traditional versus the modern values.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the reason why I feel like this is important is because you hear a lot on certain platforms. I hear a lot on certain platforms.
Yeah.
Well, I want traditional. Like I'm traditional. I'm traditional. And um, I want things. I want that old school. You hear that all the time. I want the
Mm-hmm.
old school.
Yeah.
Well, I want to break that down
Okay.
because was the old school necessarily better? Was the traditional values that we were brought up on, was it necessarily better? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain things that I would argue from the modern values
Mm-hmm.
that has helped our community more than the traditional values.
Right.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it because I got a lot
One
to
of the
say. Okay.
Okay, I'm with it. Hop in at any point. We can do this.
Well, I'm
Um,
gonna say this.
Go ahead. Mhm.
Before, so yeah, I do think that. So it was weird because before we started the second part of this podcast, it's our second one for today. Um, I was talking to a friend about the raising of his kid, and
Mhm.
he's going through the co-parenting struggle right now. So what I
Mhm.
said to him is, I heard him say some things that probably triggered from his childhood of how he was probably raised and disciplined. And I
Mhm.
realized that with traditional, I said to him, I said, hey, there are some things, in psychology, we say rough discipline, right? when
Mhm.
you know the beatings, the corporal punishment, certain things that we went through as kids, we thought it was like really bad how we got our butt whipped. But what
Mhm.
I said, but some of those things that our parents, especially black mothers that was single and didn't have a father in the household, some of the things that our grandparents and our mothers disciplined us, we have to take that into the raising of our kids. Some of it.
Okay.
Some of it. So yes, so to your answer to your question, yes, I do think that some of the traditional values and upbringing for us were better than what's going on now. And I say that because now here's the down part. As a kid,
Okay.
we weren't able to speak up for ourselves. Every adult was right. Every adult was supposed to be respected. You couldn't talk back, so we didn't have
Mhm.
no voice. So
Mhm.
for those of us that didn't have a voice, now we're outspoken. We're too loud. We got a lot to
Mhm.
say. And then for those of us that got children, now we let our kids speak and express
Mhm.
themselves. And guess what happens when you don't, when you're traumatized and you didn't get help from what you thought you was traumatized by your upbringing. Now you get an outspoken, a child that overtalks, don't know the difference between I don't gotta always have an answer because we didn't give
Mhm.
balance. So when you
Mhm.
don't take traditional values at all and then add them into the new generation, then you get an overkill or underkill.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
then when you do balance it out and take some of what grandma and granddad and your mother taught you in raising of your children, there's a balance. You allowed to
Okay.
speak, but I'm gonna tell you why when you're not, and why you don't have to always
Mhm.
speak back. So now I got my sisters and I got some of my nieces and them. They talk back to the point where there's no respect to the point that they could do it to me. But because I have some
Right.
traditional values of how my grandmother raised me, I
Mhm.
ain't taking that. So now they
Right.
looking at me crazy. I go, girl, like you gonna put a handle on my name. Like you're not gonna call me Shawna. I'm
Right. Right.
49.
Right.
So I
Right.
do believe that there are some traditional values that should be brought in to the new generation. I do think that some of the stuff that we did go through was better.
Okay. You know what? And you read my mind.
Okay,
You read my mind because that was the
because that's
very
what we
first thing that
do.
I was
That's
going
what
to
we
mention.
do, partner.
The children were made to be seen and not
And not
heard.
heard.
And so what happened is that there's a lot of things that happen to children that they
Mm-hmm.
did not feel comfortable talking about, and
Right.
then they grew up with holding on to because they weren't
Yep.
able to release that, because sometimes your best therapy is to be able to just be heard,
Yes. Right.
just to be heard. Like, people do not realize how freeing a burden it is just to talk and be heard, just to be
Yes.
able to say, you know what, this happened.
Oh, this did not
You know
happen.
what I mean? Or it did not happen, and it
Right.
just to get it off of you, right? So then what happens is that, well, you have become you now become an adult that don't know how to express.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
So you let your
So
kids express, like I just said.
now we've grown up
Mm-hmm.
and we realized the error of what happened, and so we swung the pendulum completely the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You don't give your children boundaries of
No.
how, okay,
No.
why it is necessary sometime to just be quiet, how to read a room, how to do all the, no, it's, you know what, I want you to use your voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in certain instances, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's great because I don't have to guess on what's going on in your mind because you're telling me. You feel the
Right.
freedom to tell me.
Right.
But then on the other part of, on the flip side of this, is that okay? Now we out and about, and now you just want to tell me whatever's on your mind. You just want to give me
Right.
whatever.
Right.
Like, there's a time and place for all things under the sun, and I can't handle this right now. Like,
Right,
I need you.
exactly. So remember when we came up with this conversation and I said
Mhm.
Claire Huxtable was a prime example of traditional values in a modern woman, right? Because she
Mhm.
didn't, because traditional woman was a woman that stayed home,
Stayed home.
like Leave It to Beaver,
Mhm.
mom, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
what is it? I Dream a Genie, a Bewitched. Like
Mm-hmm.
those women stayed home. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
work. But Claire
Right.
Huxtable was traditional values, but she was a modern woman because she was a lawyer and she worked and she took care of kids and she was
Mm-hmm.
over. Sometimes she was overwhelmed where she needed days to stay home and dad did everything. Remember? But
Mm-hmm.
do you remember
Mm-hmm.
that scene with Rudy when Rudy didn't want the traditional values of staying up late to watch her favorite show?
Mm-hmm.
And they kept telling her like no, but then they gave her
Mm-hmm.
the lesson of doing it and show her, oh, you can stay up as long as you want. She was up eating ice cream. They turned the
Mm-hmm.
TV on, but she had to go to school the next day, and she was
Had to go to
no,
school. Yeah.
I'm tired. He's like, oh, get up. You got to get up. No, because you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to stay up like an adult, and you wanted. So now you still got to go to school. You still got to perform tired. This is the
Right.
reason why traditional be telling you kids got to go to bed at a certain time, and you don't get to stay up like your older brothers, like and your sister like Theo and Vanessa. You got to go to
Right.
sleep because you're younger because your mind can't take it.
Right.
That's but then the lesson in it
Mm-hmm.
was that now you see why you can't do it.
Right.
So what my friend was saying today is that he feels like from what he was taught for as a kid and what he wanted to give his kid was that he didn't when we got hit or we got disciplined or beat, there was no teaching moment, right? It
Yeah.
was I'm beating
Yeah.
you because I love you, or I'm beating you because
Mm-hmm.
I said so. But it wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
reason. But I said you can't sit there and say that every time we got beat, we didn't know why we got beat. We knew when we did something wrong. We knew that
Mm-hmm.
there was a chance that if we didn't do what we knew, staying at times outside late and things like that, we knew that we were gonna get in trouble. But
Mm-hmm.
there was no teachable moment, right? So they
Right.
confused being beat with love, saying I'm getting beat because you love me, or you're getting beat but not telling me that hey, the reason why I did is because I don't have a watch, so I lost time. I lost
Right.
track of time. So when I get in the house late, it's after 8 o'clock because the street lights came on a little early, but the sun is still out. I don't know the difference between you didn't teach me time. So now
Right.
I don't. So time got away from me, but I got
Mm-hmm.
beat for something that I didn't know. Goes back
Right.
to, how many people have evil cousins and aunts that just didn't like your mother and didn't like you because you was raised right and her kids is running ragged. So guess what?
Mm-hmm.
This evil aunt lies on you. But
Mm-hmm.
because she's an adult and we're not supposed to lie on kids, guess what
Mm-hmm.
happens? I get in trouble, but you're not listening to me, let you know that it didn't happen. You didn't even ask me if it
Mm-hmm.
happened. You just believe the adult.
And I think that a lot of the time, especially in the tradition, the in the days back then is when, you know, a lot of the time the children um were not able to feel safe speaking to
Nope.
about adults and what
Nope.
their experience was. Um, and so you think about just how many people that, you know, dealt with, like, say, abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and you're in an environment where there's no real support system regarding abusive situations and things of that nature. So
Right.
you grow up with that abuse, right? And whether it may be mental, whether it may be physical, whether it
Mm-hmm.
may be emotional, whether it may be spiritual, abuse is very
Right.
devastating and it's hard to get over. You know what I mean? Especially once you get to feeling that or you get to thinking that that's what you deserve
Yeah.
when you don't know that you're worth more than what you've been through.
Mm. Mm.
That's a hard pill to swallow,
Very hard pill to
right?
swallow. Yeah.
And as a person that have dealt with, that done life coaching event, I'm sure you understand that breakdown of it is extremely, like, because those people are extremely guarded, they're
Guarded.
extremely defended. You know what I
Yep.
mean? They're
Overprotected
defensive,
of their
like,
own children getting wrong. Yeah.
overprotective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The trauma
Like they,
trauma is real. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
swing that they do is completely in the opposite direction. You
They don't
will
want
not.
nothing to do. It's like, you know how when you was a kid, you like, I can't wait to get out this house. I can't wait to
Mm-hmm.
get my own kids. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get married. I ain't never come back here
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't understand the discipline or the harshness of the discipline, or saying, "Dag, this ain't warrant me can't sit down for the next
That
couple of days.
this ain't warrant
This
that.
ain't warrant this." In my mind, it didn't
Mm-hmm.
warrant this. Like, dang. So now, guess what? What happens? Like you said, we see it now. Now it becomes fearful. Now you scared to do anything. So not only
Mm-hmm.
just anything in the presence of your parents and your relatives, but just in the world going forward.
Forward.
So
Yeah.
now, when you have your own kids, now you feel like you are going to uh,
Right the wrong.
right the wrong, or now you're going to tell your mother, "I told you so," because now I get to raise my kid the way I want to. But then guess what happens with those grandparents? They become what we wanted. Now
What
they
we.
grandkids can't get beat. Don't you yell at them.
Yep.
Don't you tell
Yep.
them they can't have this. I see my
Yep.
mother in here. When I tell you the traditional values that my grandmother and my mother instilled in me, when I say it to my niece, "Oh, don't say that to her. Oh, she can have what she want." I go, "What? You got to
Right.
be kidding me." So you got to become a
Mm-hmm.
grandmother in order to be balanced?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then in the same thing, I was raised on superstition.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember my mother. So this goes with my mother having something that she didn't understand. She didn't understand superstition. You know, borrowing salt, a black cat, uh, breaking a mirror, 7 years bad luck,
Mm-hmm.
your hand
Step
itching,
on the
money,
cat.
or somebody talking about you, step
Step
on the
on the
cat's
crack.
hair.
Break your mother.
Make it right. My mother
Mm-hmm.
was raised on that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
You know, spin on the broom. If you touch your feet, you can't get married. So I'm like, so then a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us got our feet touched with brooms. That's why we not married. So
Right.
I didn't understand it.
Right.
So if I didn't understand it, this is how I was coming into where I'm at now, understanding that I wasn't going to march at the beat of somebody else's drum.
Right.
So I stood up to my grandmother, but not in a way that I was being disrespectful. I didn't understand why you telling me all these little weird things. I didn't understand it, and I expected her to explain it to me.
Right.
But she couldn't, because she didn't know where it came from. It was taught
Mm-hmm.
to her, so she taught it
Right.
to my mother, and my mother and them tried to teach it to me, and I wasn't having it.
Right.
So my mother, so one day I said, "Grandma, that don't make sense." I said, "I can't borrow salt or a cat." I said, "But God made a cat. Why would that be bad luck?" "Oh, don't talk back to me." I
Mm-hmm.
almost
Mm-hmm.
got beat for it. My mother admitted to me maybe a couple of months ago, or like a year ago, we talked about it. She said, "I couldn't say nothing." She said, "But I was so happy that you stood up to my mother, something that I could not do." She said, "I thought you was gonna die or get beat, but when you stood up to grandma,
Mm-hmm.
I was so my mother had to still tell me, watch your mouth, but
Mm-hmm.
she couldn't believe that I actually had the strength and the courage to question my grandmother on something that didn't add up to me, from what you trying to raise me
Right.
biblically to what you're
Mm-hmm.
telling me now about superstition." But my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother couldn't explain it because she didn't have the answer.
Right.
So I went on not believing in superstition. I don't care about no mirror and all this stuff. Like it comes to remembrance, because
Mm-hmm.
I was raised, but it was up to me to debunk it.
Right.
Now I'm gonna say one
So
thing
let me
that my
ask
grandmother
you,
was right about.
what's
When
that?
she said, "Turn your lights off with lightning." So one day I was in the house being defiant. My grandmother was dead and gone, and I'm sitting up there, and it's lightning outside. I'm on the computer. I'm watching TV. I'm like, see, my grandma knows. She talking about no daggone lightning and turn the light off. Comply. I was in the projects, okay, on the 9th floor, the corner of the building. That lightning struck the building. The light, the sky lit up like it was daytime. My computer said, boom. I saw a spark. I said, "I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm sorry. You right. You right." I turned off everything. I'm sitting in the middle for like this. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." So I say that to say it, I land, that there's certain things that you do have to listen, because everything that
Mm-hmm.
they did say was not wrong.
Right.
They
So let me ask you this.
everything was not wrong. I love you, Grandma.
Let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Do you believe that the traditional way of of relationships?
Mm.
Do you think that it was better than the modern way of relationship. And here's I'll explain before
Ooh, it's not
before
going
before I let you
good.
go, before I
It's
let
not
you
going
out.
good.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Hold me
I'm
back.
gonna before I let you go, let me explain.
I ain't got no more
So
juice for this. Hold me back.
so the traditional way was
Mhm.
to, um, the male, speak to the father,
Mhm.
and you had to get the father's approval for you to even start talking to the daughter. you
Yeah.
know and then once you start talking to the daughter or whatever the case may be, after a certain amount of time, okay, what are we doing?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? What is your intentions with my daughter, whatever the case may be? And then we
Right.
we ain't doing a whole long thing or whatever, like what's going on, right?
Right. Mhm.
Um, there was definitely, you had a period of time that you courted
Mhm.
the woman. Um, and courting was basically dating and getting to know at the same time, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but what I've noticed, because now the modern way is basically social media.
Mm.
You don't really like, there's so many different broken homes that you don't really have to get to know the parent
Oh,
um
you never
at
will
all. You know what I
sometimes.
mean? Like some
Mhm.
folks, you never even meet their parent at
Yep.
all, or whatever the case, depending on the dynamics that's going on in the house.
Mhm.
um a lot of the time, you're meeting on a lot of people are meeting on social media through different apps and things of that nature.
Mhm.
Um they're um they're going on dates, um m- after getting to know each other for however long,
Mhm.
sometimes months, sometimes weeks, just depend on the vibes or whatever the case may
Uh
be.
huh.
But I can definitely tell you that there's the difference between the two as far as to how you're getting to know each particular person.
Oh
Because I
yeah.
think that like this, through the social media, it's more impersonal. Like I'm only getting
Very.
to know the I'm only get to know the representative, right? I don't know you. Like I'm not being in your presence to feel your vibe, to say that,
Mhm.
hey, yo, yeah, I'm interested in you
Right.
in this way or that way. So um, that's why I asked the question, like, do you believe that the traditional way of courting, of dating, of relationships is better or worse than the modern day? And based off of your answer, I have another question. But
Well,
let's talk.
I'm not trying to straddle the fence, but
Okay.
again, I do see how both of them can balance and work.
Okay.
For me, I am a modern day woman with
Mm-hmm.
some traditional values that I still hold to my heart that I will never negate from. No one care how many years left on this earth that I am allowed to date.
Okay.
I would not negate from allowing a man to come to my house on the first or second or third date.
Mm-hmm.
I would not negate from a man being the first to pay if he asks
Mm-hmm.
me out on the first date.
Mm-hmm.
I would not negate from uh, sexual activities until I know that we're in a relationship, even though I've
Okay.
made mistakes in the past.
Right.
Because it's certain things that I've learned like that, or letting a man now pick you up from your home,
Mm-hmm.
because now picking you up from your home was a traditional thing.
Right.
But now, because of the modern day crazies, that's not a
Mm-hmm.
thing for safety for a woman. Because now
Okay.
you might get with a guy that you don't like, and now he knows where you live at.
Right. Right.
So I won't use that anymore.
Gotcha.
I don't want you picking me up in your car, even at the corner. I got my own car. I'll drive. We can be separate ways, because again, time, the new modern way has shown that dating is very, very scary now,
Hmm.
versus when I was dating traditional when I was younger. You like somebody, that was your boyfriend. You went on a couple of dates and you didn't have to worry about calling me 15 times and things like that. If he was your boyfriend, he met your parents. You met his
Right.
parents. I was 16, 17, up until maybe 20 some years. I was meeting my boyfriend's parents.
Right.
I was spending Thanksgiving with them. They were taking, my mother allowed me to go on trips. If I spent the night, it was because they had a bigger sister and they knew that we was in separate rooms. And I mean,
Hmm.
things happen, whatever. You still can come out the room, but it was the fact of respect. Parents
Right.
knew each other. These days, like you said, you were not meeting nobody parents.
Hmm.
So I do believe that, again, there are some traditional values that I, as a woman, to keep my femininity, I would not
Hmm.
negate from. But there are
Okay.
some things that I do believe that cannot be traditional anymore, because of the protection of being a single woman dating now in the 21st century.
I can agree with that, with a lot of what you said, and I can understand your reasoning
And I have
behind.
more, but I'll let you,
Yeah.
because I have other stuff that I don't want to overdrawn it. But yeah.
Okay. Um, I can agree with, like for instance, like for me, like it is it is it's my ego.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just put it out there. My ego will not allow for you to pay for the date, even if you were the one that asked me on the date.
Mm-hmm.
My ego will not allow me to do that.
How about on the
My
second date?
ego is now. You're never going to pay on a date with,
See?
and not if I'm present. Like
Okay, so
that's
now
my
take the
ego.
traditional. Okay, I get it. I
You know
get
what I
it.
mean? Like my ego will not allow me to do that. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
it'll be a completely different other thing. Like say for instance, like if you set a reservation and you paid in advance, you know what I mean? So now
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's happened, that you've done it. Like
Right.
okay, now
Like a gift or
that
something.
that's yeah, that's out of my hands. You know what I
Right.
mean? But
Okay.
if I'm there and a check comes on that table, like I don't want you touching it.
Got you.
You know,
Okay.
just the same way, like if I'm in the car with you and we pull up to the gas station, like there's no need for you to get out the car. Like, like unless
Right.
you want to go in and get you something to snack on or whatever the case may be, like there's no reason for you to get out the car. Like I'm pumping the gas and
I
then
agree.
unless there's something specific or you need to go to
Mm-hmm.
the bathroom or something like that, like because in my view, like when you're with me, you're under my protection at all. Like, and so I'm thinking about all scenarios, whether or
Right.
not, there may be something going on inside the store that,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, or if on the outside, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I need to make sure that I am the focal point, not you.
Exactly. Not you. I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I think that there are certain things traditionally that I do hold on to, but then there are certain things that are modern
Mm-hmm.
that I definitely like the independence of a woman.
Okay.
I love that. I love it. I do not think that I would have fit well in a society that tried to cultivate a woman to me. And the
Right.
reason why I say that is because I need someone to push back on some of my impulses. You know what I mean?
Got you.
Especially being the young man that I was coming up. Like
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm here, now
Yeah.
I'm more calculated. I'm more now less of a risk taker and things of that nature. But when I was younger, like if I had someone that all you ever do was listen to what I say or whatever, I'm gonna
Right.
run. My personality is gonna run
Run
right over the
all
top
over
of you.
you.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I need that pushback. I need that stop.
So
Like
let me ask you a
I need,
question. Do
go ahead.
you think that, before I lose it, excuse my ADHD,
No,
sorry.
go ahead. Go
Um,
ahead.
do you think that, I see, I don't forgot my dang on thought. What was I about to ask you? Do you think that modern versus traditional is predicated on age and the walk of life that we're in at this moment, like what you're saying? Like if you would just, you would run all over the person. Now, now that wasn't traditional, that was modern. But now
Mhm.
that part is, now you may want a woman that's a little more conditioned and not so, well, I'm gonna tell you what to do, right? Not so bossy. Do you think it's like predicated on our levels of life, like where we are? Because I kind of think like that. If you
Well,
understand what I'm trying to say.
yeah, I do, but but in a certain sense, like it does depend on your level of maturity
Mm-hmm.
and your your accountability to yourself, right?
Mm.
Because I know me. I know
Right.
my personality
That
is a
part.
tidal wave. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I know my personality is a tidal wave. So I know what I need in order for me to be the best version of me. And
Exactly.
I don't need someone that is just going to be along for the ride to just tell me,
Pushover.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
You need a little pushback. Yeah, you need a little
I
bit.
need
Yeah.
pushback. I have to have that because um no relationship that I have been in
Mm-hmm.
where the person didn't have the right type of personality that was able to, like, it ends fast.
I got you. I got you.
It ends fast, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not necessarily
So you need that
because
challenge. You need that.
I
You need
have
that
to have the
challenge. Right.
challenge. And
Yeah.
so the independent, you know, like I want, and see the independent woman, what she also allows me to see is that if something should, because see, I was asked a question a while ago, and then
Mm-hmm.
I had to give this really deep thought.
Okay.
I was asked, what is more important to me in a relationship, love or security?
Mm.
And I thought about
Ooh,
that
that's a
thing
good
for a
question.
second, Shauna. I thought about that thing for a while.
It's a
And I
good
said, you know
question.
what?
I need to write that down because I need to answer that myself. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Continue.
They asked me that question, and I was like, for me, it's security. And it was like, why did you say that? And I was like, well, you know what? I love me better than anybody else that could possibly love me in this world.
Mm.
Nobody else is going to love me
Right.
besides God himself. No one else is going to love me the way that I love me. You can't
Right.
possibly love me better than I love me, right?
Amen. Amen.
But I've been homeless before.
Mm.
I've been neglected and abandoned before. I run from that every single day of my life because I remember how that felt, right?
Right.
So for me, I can care less about your love. Your love is a bonus to me.
Mm. Okay.
That's all it is. It's a
Got you.
bonus.
Right.
My security, making sure that, you know, I have a house to come to, and,
Right.
you know, I have, you know, a safe space where I can be vulnerable, where I can have peace in my, like, you know, the, all of those things, that is of more important to me
Right.
than the feeling, because the feeling is fleeting.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
I
good.
need to be able to walk in some doors or whatever else like that and feel like
Yeah.
I'm home.
Everything that you just went through, it don't even matter once you walk through the
It don't
door.
even matter.
And a lot of women don't even understand that, like how they, a man equivalates respect and vulnerability with love. So you can
Hmm.
never have to say, like, we need, I love me, love me, love me, want me.
Hmm.
Like, we need to hear that all the time. Like, we can say I
Hmm.
love
Hmm.
you at 5 o'clock. We need to hear it again at 5:15, right?
Right.
Because that's
Right.
just how we built, and then insecurities and things like that. But men equate love with respect and that vulnerability, that they can be themselves and that they don't have to hear something in an argument after they
Hmm.
confided in you. Because like we said, in
Hmm.
our first podcast, once that happens, that door is closed.
Yeah.
Like, that goes with the mental health of a man, and
Hmm.
it's closed. So it's like that's so important. Like, that was a good thing. People, women need to understand that.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. So that's a good question. I don't answer it myself, but I think, I don't know, because I feel like I'm secure for myself. So it might
Hmm.
be the opposite of what you said, and I'm not trying to make that to be about it. But that was a
No,
good
that is
question.
fine.
I think for
Yeah.
me, I think, I think the love is important, but what love is to me,
Mm-hmm.
is the is what it is. It ain't like I just said, love me. It's like the way you show me your love is whatever
Mm-hmm.
my requirements is. Then that's what's important to me. The
Right.
security for me, I guess, because if you're not married, because things happen. You fall out of love. You break up,
Mm-hmm.
and then you secure with this person, but then they leave, and so I don't never
Mm-hmm.
really think I get too comfortable unless I know, but I get more comfortable knowing that you love me because there's people that love me and we're not even together anymore, or we're not
Right.
like in each other's presence like that, but the love was never questionable.
Right.
So it might be love for me, but maybe that's just because I'm a woman. I don't know, but that's a good question. I like that. That was good.
Yeah. That was
That was
when I
good.
was asked that question, yeah, I really like I had to deep dive into that because that
Yeah.
where I go is how I felt during times um when I felt my worst, right?
Mm. Okay.
And did I feel my worst because somebody didn't love me, or did I feel my worst because I didn't feel secure? I didn't feel safe.
Right. See, that's the part. Okay.
And you know what I mean? So that's how
Yeah.
I broke it down, was like, which one felt worse to me?
Mm.
And for
Yeah.
me, it was that lack of security, that time where, where I was out and all alone and didn't have anybody. You know what I
Right.
mean? I had to, you know, get it in the mud, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
You know
Got
what
to
I mean?
get it in the grind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, now talking about relationships, because this is
Mm-hmm.
what we modern day woman, modern day, it's always it's always the modern versus again, it's always the woman, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For me, for relationships, I do believe right now in the era that we are in that there is really no such thing as a traditional woman anymore,
Okay.
because the traditional way of living is not even a thing.
Existent anymore.
It
Yeah.
doesn't exist, right? Because
Yeah.
because it takes two households to work just to make ends meet.
Two
The
incomes,
two
you mean?
incomes, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
two incomes to make what I said.
You said two households, but
Oh, right,
but
right, two
two
incomes to make
income.
the right to make the household right to make it
Hmm.
to make ends meet.
Hmm.
It takes it takes two parents to raise kids now, to together. I mean, that's always been
Right.
a thing. I feel
Right.
like the traditional aspect of it is non-existent because of just that right there. The cost of living,
Hmm.
social media influences. We were our parents was raised on survival.
Hmm.
We were raised on survival and on free thinking.
Hmm.
These kids are raised on trauma from the free thinking survival parents. That they don't have to be traumatized because we're giving them everything because we
We're
didn't
giving
have
it.
it. So now we're
Yeah.
giving our kids everything, and we're not involuntarily not raising them up with morals. They don't know what it is to have struggle meals, or
Right.
to not go to bed hungry,
Right.
or what hand me down clothes is, because we
Right.
out here buying them everything
Right.
because we didn't have it. So again, the trauma shows us. So our kids are being raised on our trauma.
Hmm.
And remember, we had that conversation in the live that we
Yeah.
had last 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah.
so traditional goes out the window unless you have somebody that really held on this. I mean, if you can hold on at least to 15 to 20% of what grandma raised you with, if we all
Hmm.
had the blessing of being raised by our grandparents or having an
Hmm.
older mom, then
Hmm.
that could go a long way. But unfortunately, the more generations is happening now, these younger kids now, before babies were being, it seems like it's happening again. Our
Hmm.
our grandparents had kids at 14, 13.
Hmm.
Then we came, and then our mothers had us at 17, 18. Now our kids, right? We having our kids 16, maybe 17. Now our children, for our grandkids, they having kids at 25, 26. Some of them 30. They don't want kids.
Yeah. They
And
don't want.
now
Yeah.
And then the ones that now the Gen Zs, they're having kids later. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, but then them now the kids that had their children at 16, 14, they're hanging out with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I have show my kids morals and integrity if I'm shaking my butt and twerking with my daughter,
Right.
or I'm drinking a beer, smoking with my son?
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be a separation. Like me and my son, I went to visit him and my grandkids in Georgia like 2 years ago, like when COVID was
Mm-hmm.
kind of ending, and we
Mm-hmm.
sitting at a seafood restaurant, and we ordered some drinks. I don't drink. He drink. He ordered a beer. I almost had a fit,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to catch myself because he's grown and he's married.
Right.
But I just didn't want to see my son sit with me drinking a beer.
Right.
But it ain't the fact that he disrespected me by ordering it. I was like, "What you doing?" And then I'm like, he's like, "Ma," I said, just go drink it." But I didn't like it,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
me and my mother
But
go
it's not a
out.
bad
It's
reflection.
not
You
a
know what I
bad
mean?
reflection, but
It's
that's
not a
the
bad
raising
reflection.
that I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's a certain type of honor
Mm-hmm.
and certain things you just don't do in front of your parents. And like I said, it was just that it caught me off guard because I still look at him like my baby.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like my mother drink, she get a drink when I've ordered, a drink with her. Like we'll have a pina colada, mine will be virgin because, I got to drive and I don't drink. But she'll drink in
Mm-hmm.
front of me, but I let my mother drink in front of me before I'll take a sip with my mom. But I'm 40, 49. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just that little, I think it's just the birth and the of the children and the age of
Mm-hmm.
us that have come so close. The gap is its bridge is a little closer than it was. That's why
Right.
now you don't have the traditional grandmothers
Mm-hmm.
or the traditional aunties
Right.
because they're partying with their nieces and their kids.
Right. Yeah.
Like we don't want to be called auntie. Like when now when you get called
No.
auntie, it's like a bad thing. You know,
That was where
that
I
means
was
I'm
going to go
old.
next. Is that there's a lot of times I hear people say, well, these kids will call you by your name or whatever the case may be, and the
Mm-mm.
problem is because aunt so and so and uncle so and so don't want to be called aunt so and so and uncle so and so.
Nope.
They'll tell them, don't
Call me
call
by my
me
name.
that, or if you call me Mister or Mrs., that makes me think of my mother, and I'm not that old.
Right.
Call me so and so. So now that I have been accustomed to um being that type to call grown people by their first name because they don't want me to put a Mr.
Put
or
a handle on
Mrs.
it.
or
Yeah.
whatever. Right, or exactly. So
I'm not
now
that.
it's not disrespect. It's not disrespect. It is a taught behavior now. It's
Sometimes,
a
yeah.
taught
Yeah.
behavior. Like,
Yeah.
no, seriously. Like, I've heard so many times. Like, when I came from, I was living in Arkansas, and when I lived in Arkansas, now imagine that culture shock moving from South Bronx, New York to Arkansas. Like,
Ooh.
that was
How is
wild.
that a thing? You ain't give yourself no time.
My goodness.
Bronx, Arkansas.
Um,
What?
and I used to stay in fights for that reason. Like I couldn't understand
Uh
nothing they were talking about. Like it was just
like a
it
foreign
was it
language
was
in
wild.
English.
You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
man.
who are these people? Where
Why
did
am
they
I
come
here?
from? Why did
Why
they
am I
drop me
here?
off here? Plymouth Rock, huh?
Oh my goodness, right.
But
I landed on it.
but but when I moved from Arkansas and I moved to Indiana. I moved to Virginia, and then I moved also to Indiana.
Mm,
Um, because of the upbringing that I had in Arkansas, where they teach a lot of Southern hospitality, the old school country ways, whatever the
mm,
case may be. So it was Mister, Mrs., Ma'am,
yeah.
Sir, da 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 da. When I moved to um, Virginia, like that was the first place where it was like, man, don't call me ma'am, don't call me
Right.
sir. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Yeah, I don't
and
like
then
ma'am
we,
because it may you right because I've done. I'm like just
but
just say
but
miss.
see, but that
Ma'am is
was,
yeah yeah
but that when you're taught, like we were
yeah. That's
taught to
true.
say,
Mm,
ma'am, sir,
mm-hmm.
Mr., Mrs. That's
I
what we
tell
were
my
taught.
grandkids to call me Gigi. They can say that I'm their grandmother, but I don't want to be called grandma
But
or
grandma, you know what I mean,
nana.
nana,
No,
or
Gigi is fine.
or Medea, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, maybe
those were
Medea,
the
but it's
names.
called. But I'm Gigi.
You know, but now it's grandma and all this
Mm-hmm.
other stuff where
Mm-hmm.
it's
Honey.
where
Yup.
it used to be to get old was a prideful thing.
And it
It
was an
was a
honor.
proud, it was an honor, it was a
Yeah.
badge of honor, it
Not no
was
more.
a sign of dignity to get old. Now it is like so many of us is trying to run away from it as if
Yeah.
like as if it's a curse.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's scary. It's scary.
what happens is now you try now, oh, I'm gonna make 45 the new 35 instead of just being
It
45.
just at 45.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of just being 45. Like, okay,
I'm
what's wrong
proud because
with
I
being
know I don't look
45?
49, so
You
I'm
know
not
what I'm
gonna
saying?
keep.
Like,
I'm gonna be my age.
I'm going to hold this down,
And I don't
and
appreciate the grades that's coming out. I don't appreciate that.
hey, it
But
is what it is. I'm gonna let them
yeah,
come.
oh,
I'm
I see
gonna let
it.
them, like, you know what I mean? Like
It's
they
different for
gonna
y'all
do.
men though. It look good on y'all.
You know what? But you know the crazy thing is that I don't think that it looks bad on women. I think
Mm,
women make other women feel self-conscious about their appearances. There are certain things that us men, and you know, any man that watches this, if you agree with me, you know, just let me know. There are certain things that women do as far as
mm-hmm.
to their appearance that us men we don't give a damn about. We could care less.
I've
You know
heard
what I mean?
that. I do believe
You know what
that.
I mean? Well,
Yeah,
you doing that specifically either for you or you doing it for
for them in
some
the
other
streets.
female to
Mm-hmm.
impress another female, or so that another
Yeah,
female won't talk or whatever else like that. Because we ain't looking at nothing in regards to that. You know what I mean? Like lashes, like
so since you said
or
that,
edges or stuff
right.
like that.
So since you
Okay.
said that,
Uh-huh.
do you believe that it's possible for a modern woman to hold traditional values or be taught traditional values in this day and age right now?
Yes. Yes. Because I see that there are still a lot of modern women that
Mm,
go out and they do the 9 to 5 and stuff like that, that still have traditional values where they still want to be courted. They
mm,
still want to um, be now there are certain parts of the
received.
traditional values that's gone, that I believe is gone.
Like what?
And for instance, like I think that the days of the housewife,
Mm,
they're done. You know what I
okay.
mean? Like I
Unless you
think
seven
that
figures, right?
for
That's what these women think
right,
they want to
and
be.
for the collective, for the
Yeah.
median, you know what I mean? There
Mm,
no, there's going to be outliers where you know this person may be able to get away with it or whatever the case may be, but for the vast majority, now
mm-hmm.
the days of the housewife is done because inflation is too high, the
Yeah.
economy is what it is, you know, we can't afford for, you know, unless you getting paid to be a housewife,
Right.
there ain't no housewife. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
need you out here working, even if it's just a little piece of job. I need you to be
Yeah.
working.
You
You know
working
what I
from
mean?
home or something. Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
Um. I don't
So
know. Yeah. Good.
there there are certain aspects of the traditional values that you know I think that is no longer relevant in today's world. But
Mm,
um, I do believe that there are a lot of women there, and I think there's a lot of men that
mm,
are out here that still are holding on to some of the traditional values that we learn from our parents and our grandparents.
But it's the men that keep asking for the traditional woman, but they're not giving us that traditional life.
Because
There's a certain there's something
therein
that
lies
goes
the
with
issue.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because you
therein
asking for
lies the
something
issue.
that you're not giving me the
You're
you're
not
not giving me
capable
the
of.
soft era
Yeah,
life to live a traditional life, to cook,
yeah,
clean, and be able to do it, and then be okay that all the bills are going to be met by just one income. So you
yeah,
asking for something that you have to be the first partaker in creating.
yeah. Yeah, you can't ask for in today's time. You can't ask for the traditional woman and only work 40 hours a day,
No, you sure
40
can't.
hours a week.
No,
You can't
no,
ask for like
no.
that's not even
It's
possible.
not
Like
even possible.
you have to if you want in today's society, and
For
unless
me to
you
stay
are
home with my
uh,
six figures, for
unless
me
you are
to you want me
seven
to stay home?
unless you 7 figures or above,
Mm-mm. No.
the only way that you could possibly continue on with a traditional lifestyle is that you have to work more than 40 hours a week. You
That's right.
cannot.
60
You
plus.
60 plus,
60
you
plus.
know?
And then that
So
means
that
you ain't
means
going to
that
see your wife
that
or
means I'm
your.
not at home.
I'm not going to
That,
see you.
that means I'm not at home.
So these women are
That's just
asking
what it
for a
is.
lot, and these men are asking for a lot. But here go the narrowing of this conversation that we having. The traditional versus modern values is non-existent or slim to none because you have to provide that atmosphere. If you are a woman that
Yeah.
requires this, then you have to make sure that everything that your husband is asking you that needs to be met. Right? So if you want to be a modern woman like Claire Huxtable and work, but you still to come home, cook, clean, attend to your
Hmm.
husband at nighttime, you can't be tired. You got you you
Hmm.
you got to do two jobs. So
Yeah.
you can't
You have
have
to.
it's either one or the other. But if you want to be a traditional woman and have well, I'm sorry, be a modern woman, have traditional values, then you got to stand on those values.
Yeah.
And if you are a modern day man that want a traditional wife, but you know that you're not giving her that lifestyle, then you have to give her that lifestyle. You have to give her
Yeah.
the cushion to be able to quit her job that makes her a modern woman, to be able to stay home and do all the things that you need to be done when you come home and whatever else you need for her. If you just want
Yeah.
her to be at your beck and call. But y'all cannot
Yeah.
have it both ways.
No. No.
And
You
it's
can't.
more than just sex and cleaning and cooking that makes a woman a traditional woman or modern. It's more to it than just that. It's so
Yeah.
much more to it than just that.
I agree.
Because there's a lot of women
I,
out here that ain't got no jobs. That don't mean that they traditional.
that
What's
part right
wrong?
there. Right.
What are you doing?
Then they
If that's the
modern
case,
broke.
right. Traditionally, no pockets. Traditional
The
welfare.
traditional, right, got traditional lint. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Shoot. Traditional.
Right.
What? Right. So you gotta
Right.
be careful what you asking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Soft girl
A-
era. Okay. Yeah, be
And
a soft
that's
girl
why I
era.
say,
What you gonna do though?
right. That's why I say, like you have to know where you are. Like, are you in your fantasy or are you in reality? Because your fantasy is okay, this is my ideal
Mm,
situation. This is, like if everything went right, this is what I want, right? This is my preference. This is
right.
what, you know. But then reality is that I only work 40 hours a week or less.
Or
Reality
less.
is that the reality is I only make XYZ amount of dollars per hour. And that's not enough
It's
if
not
you're in
enough.
today's society to have a woman that's going to be at home on your beck and call all the time. Like that's not feasible. That's not going to be a feasible
Yeah.
way of thought process for your lifestyle. You're going to struggle all the time. That's
All the
just a
time.
guarantee.
Yep.
And then it's going to be an unhappy way of living. That's
Right.
just what it is. It's a guarantee that it's going to be an unhappy way of living because, contrary to what people may think, infidelity
Mm.
isn't the cause of a lot of the breakups of a household. It is that
I
money
say
being funny.
finances.
Dumb
Finances.
finances get funny, and I lose
No
compassion.
romance without
I
finance.
look,
No romance without finance.
what are
That
we
song was
talking
real.
about?
What are we
You
talking
know what I'm
about?
saying? What are we talking about? Like you ain't got nothing. What? The lights got cut off.
What? You want to jump on me? What? We ain't got no food. What?
We ain't got no food. I ain't got no compassion.
I'm not in the mood.
Right.
I ain't got a
I
headache. I
no
got
understanding.
stress.
I
What?
can, you better understand.
If you don't scooch over and leave me alone,
Right.
what? You're right.
Why you
Finances.
ain't why you ain't at work right now?
Right. You ain't got no job. Better go on TikTok and make a video.
You said, man, look here.
Right.
Look here. I
You
walk
better
up
get
out
your
this
car and you
house.
better do Uber Eats or
I walk up
DoorDash.
out this house and you in one spot and I come
You
back and
done
you in the
turned
same
over
spot. We
and you
got
turned
problems.
over. The
We
same
got
underwear's on.
problems.
You ain't wash your ass either.
We got
I
problems.
don't smell no soap, no nothing in here.
Ain't
What?
nothing cooking.
Nothing cooking. It's dry.
Let
The
me tell you
clothes are
something.
still on the couch. What?
Stuff about to get rough around here. You know what
Real
I'm saying?
rough. Real rough. Where you going? I'll be back. I need to go somewhere because I can't do this. What?
I'm trying to tell you, them
You
finance look,
traditional
them
modern. I
finances will
got you.
tear up a household. That's why I say, like it's I think that the traditional way of thinking, I think
Mm-hmm.
that was beneficial,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the modern society that we have,
Yeah.
it may be unattainable to a
I
certain
agree.
degree,
It
depending on
is.
what part of the traditional traditional lifestyle you want to incorporate. Certain things are definitely still, they're still out there, they're still being done,
Yeah.
so I don't have any issue with that, but there are certain other parts of the traditional values that is definitely in this society
Yeah.
is now unattainable.
Yeah. I
It's
definitely.
going to be slim to none
I
to see it.
definitely. I definitely. But we got to come together as men and women because I think we requesting a lot from each other,
Hmm.
things that like you said that's not possible at this present moment in time. The average working person makes $45,000 a year, and that's
Right.
average, and the lowest is about 20.
20, yeah.
20 about 20. So, and
Hmm.
then on the scale of six figures, the low six figures, by the time taxes taken out, you still five figures.
Yeah, you
You got to
still.
be like high six figures in order to really see the bulk of your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm mid six figures, and it's still a lot.
Yeah.
It's still a lot. You think I don't want? You think I don't want to? I've been working too long. I've been working since I was 14. You think I don't want to come home and be cute and walk around here with little teddies and cook dinner all day and sing? You think I want to do that?
Right.
I still sometimes
Right.
got to come home after a days of working 16 hours and still cook and clean for myself.
Right.
I can't wait to retire. I want to know what that feel like.
What that look like. Right. Right.
I had 2 days off this week. Guess what? I slept all day yesterday, slept most of this day. Now I'm doing right here what I love to do. And then I gotta go in there and cook dinner after I get off this podcast for myself,
Hmm. Hmm.
laundry, and then I'm
Right.
right back in the trenches tomorrow
Back in the trenches tomorrow. Yeah, that's
with
me.
no
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
think I don't want another six figure or close to six figure man to jump on board with me so we can make this work together? I would
Right.
love that.
Right.
But according to society, I'm too successful or nobody care about my accolades. You care about something.
Right.
But again, gotta be careful what you listen to. Like we just said in our last podcast.
Yeah.
I land.
And one of the one of the best things, one of the best things that we as individuals can learn
Mm-hmm.
is to to be truthful with yourself in regards to where you are,
Yeah.
where you stand. Like it's one thing to have a preference, but is your preference maintainable? It can
Right.
you is it sustainable over a period of time? Because yeah, it might start off a certain type of way. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if you making a certain type of money and you're in a certain type in certain areas of the country,
Yeah.
then you know what? Yep, you might be able to do that. But
Yep.
for
Well,
the
people are
most part,
doing
you
that
have
though.
to, yeah,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
yeah.
Finish. I'm gonna tell you.
But for the most part, you have to be realistic with where you are in this thing we call life. Because, and then
Yes.
also understand that life continues to life. It will
Right.
always continue to life. So you have to be mindful of that when you're making certain selections. So yes, I
Yeah.
definitely believe that we should hold on to some of the traditional values that we've learned, that
Absolutely.
we were cultivated under.
And I love
Um,
it. I love the ones
yeah,
I hold on to because it protects
yeah,
me. It really does.
yeah.
If I was to let go some of the things that my grandmother told me, like crossing your legs, keeping your
Mm-hmm,
elbows off the table,
mm-hmm,
just wearing a slit.
mm-hmm,
Make sure your intimates on your clothes is clean and certain
mm-hmm,
things. My grandma always say like little nuggets. I hear my when I'm doing something, I would say my grandma would say this, like
mm-hmm.
those type of things. I would never let go of, regardless
Right.
of the fact. And
Yeah.
I think that should be passed down. Like I told my friend today, like there's certain things that we should not negate or let go from our discipline and raising, because
Mm-hmm.
especially if we're not going to go get help or
Right.
talk through our traumas that our parents inflicted on us, because they
Right.
only knew what they knew.
They only knew what they
Now we want
knew.
to blame them, and now we're gonna be the little kids showing up raising our kids. Don't do
Right.
that, because remember we used to get beef for that. Let your kids say
Mm-hmm.
whatever they want to say, and now your kids saying
Mm-mm.
whatever they want to say,
What I want to say, right?
and now they cursing you out,
Yeah.
and now you don't
Yeah.
understand why. But
But
when they go to
there were
grandma
certain,
house, they ain't doing that
mhm,
over there, or they are.
right. There were certain things though. We're being completely honest, and we're gonna land this plane in a little bit. But if we're being honest, there were
Mm-hmm.
certain things that, like you were saying earlier, where you would get disciplined for, and it was just a kid being a kid, and you didn't have the space to just be a kid. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, whereas now we recognize that you're just being a kid. You're not being disrespectful. You're
Right.
not being, you know, this, that, and the third. You're just being a kid. You're just
Yeah.
being curious. You're
Like
just,
Dennis the
you know what I mean?
Menace.
Like, yeah,
Dennis the Menace
he
didn't mean
just
no
be
harm. He just
right.
got himself in
He just
trouble. He tried to
just got
help
himself
and
in
and
trouble a
and did
lot of the
something.
time, and
Yeah.
so, but you
Yeah.
have to like one of my coworkers. He was talking to me, and he was like, one of the things that he learned from when he was growing up was that he noticed how a lot of times um, his I think he said his grandmother would be like, go in there and clean the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and he would go in there and clean the bathroom, and he would clean it to what he
His
thought was clean,
ability. Right.
right?
Yeah.
And his grandma would get upset with them and whoop him and tell him to go back in there and clean the bathroom,
But never gave him no type of
but never
teaching.
gave him that part right there. That
You don't
part
know what
right there.
clean is if you never taught me.
I'm glad you went there, because that's where
That's a
I
teaching
think
moment that we
uh,
didn't get.
I
Yeah.
think that's where the traditional kind of failed us.
They
You know what
didn't
I
give us
mean?
no teachable moments. That was
And
it. It
so
was
then what
just
we
do what
did
I
was then
say.
we went and we took it and we swung it completely the opposite direction to where I'm not going to do what they did,
Nothing. Nope.
and we
I'm gonna
did
let my
nothing.
yep. Yep. But
Yeah,
like I said, you can't beat a child, yell at a child without having some type of dialogue with them. Even
right.
if you don't want them to talk back. Do you know
Hmm.
why? My mother sometimes would say, why I'm beating you? And I'd be like, no, I
Hmm.
don't know. And then I can't say no because that's talking back. So I'm just sitting up
Hmm.
there. So now you're trying to get me to talk when you tell me don't talk.
Hmm.
But you know how I used to be behind that door. I can't stand you. Just cursing them
I
out. She's
can't
like, I'm
wait
just
till I
about to
get grown.
every curse in
Hmm.
the book, and you be like, what you say? Nothing. You
None.
doing this? You got me going. What? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna lose my breath. I'm not messing with you. I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait to get out this house.
I
And I'm gonna
can't
be
wait to get out of this.
everything that
That you are.
you were right to my kid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Trauma response.
Yep.
A,
And that's
a,
what
a
I was.
mental
That's what I was
child
going to
raising a
say.
physical child,
Yeah.
an adult
That
body. That's what it is. A mental
that
child
part.
raising a physical child and an adult body, and you're both
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Both of us.
So now your
Just
kids
as
running
child.
around here doing that kind of stuff. Like, I go walk in and I'm like, how are you a mother and you smoke a weed with your kid? Explain that to me. I don't want to be. I told myself I don't want to be his friend. I'm his friend now
Mm-hmm.
because he's older. He got married. I don't have no jurisdiction over him.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, all I could do is give advice.
Yeah.
But I'm not partying with you.
Right. Right. Because I
I'm
ain't
not
your
doing
friend.
that. I'm not your friend. I
I
don't
ain't your
care if you're
friend.
mad.
Right.
So there's certain things that my mother did instill in me, and it's crazy because the very values that I got from my grandmother, because my grandmother teaching and discipline raised me up until 26, and she passed. But when it was for my brother, he was 15.
Mm.
So we're 8 years apart. So if I think I'm saying that right, I think she 18, 26. Yeah, no, 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
So when he
Mm-hmm.
passed away, when she passed away, he was raised from my mother from 15 up until now. And the way he is,
Mm-hmm.
you could tell he had no traditional values. Whatever my grandmother taught him, he needed
Mm-hmm.
more of it.
Gotcha.
And then my mother didn't raise him. Like I said, and I typed it into somebody's chat. I said we're not, our kids are not being raised anymore. They're just growing up.
Yeah.
They're being
Yeah.
grown up. They're not being raised. Raised is with
Yeah.
values, morals, do's, don'ts.
Mm-hmm.
Being grown up is just you're here, you're gonna be grown, you're gonna pick up little things you hear me say, but I'm not taking time to instill anything in you. And that's the
Right.
problem. Wow. I don't even know if the modern day is even the correct verbiage to say. Because a lot of these kids don't have none of that. But the way they think and the things they say, the entitlement, the audacity at some things. They can't they couldn't have been raised. There's no way. There's no way the mom sat down and took time to help them with certain stuff. It was, send them to school. Let the teachers and the strangers teach them stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Kids know songs better than they know the ABCs.
Yeah.
I saw a mother on TikTok the other day teaching her daughter how to twerk at 8 years old.
Think that
Teaching your
thing is
daughter
cute.
how to twerk. And had her and she and the, you know the trick. You don't arch your back. Push down on her back.
Mm. Mm.
You teaching your daughter how to twerk at 8? So
Think it's cute.
what does that do for our community when
Right.
she get older? Because if your mother taught you, then it got to be right? Because your mom taught you. There's no way that she would teach you anything to harm or hurt you. I digress.
And there you go. And there you have it. Well, look, it is always a pleasure, Shawna. Always a pleasure. We had another one.
Another one. This has
Well,
been the Male and Female Perspective Podcast. I am your host, Shawna Speaks.
and I am Just Comply.
Like, subscribe, follow, and like he said, just comply.
And Just Comply.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.